Welcome to Charlie's Chatroom, your self-improvement, do-it-yourself go-to for important life hacks that put you in the best position to unwrap the best version of yourself. I am Charlie, and we're ready to enlighten, and we are ready to empower, so you can pull up a seat and turn up the volume. For the inauguration of the chat room, we are delving into the topic of environment, and particularly the home environment. The home is what most people have and what everyone seeks. Today, we're going to launch with how your environment reflects you. So what we experience with our emotions as adults usually stems from our childhood. That's our upbringing, whatever our culture was or is, and the most impactful moments of our lives. And most importantly, the traumas that we experience shape who we are as adults. And traumas in particular really brain stain us. For me, I needed to control my environment at all times. That's the noise levels, the smell of my house, my personal space and proximity physically, what was in there and around me, the amount of people, and what type of company I had in my house. And this all stemmed from my childhood. I did not have a perfect childhood. There were so many things that were out of my control, and for many years as a child under my parents' guidance, I lived with anxiety as a child. Early on, I was a nail biter, and I never really knew how to process my emotions constructively. So I found coping mechanisms like most people. And one of those was withdrawing, being very introverted and very quiet. Right around maybe late middle school, early high school, I started writing in journals and I started doing poetry. That was a great outlet for me because I felt like I didn't have a voice or I didn't have anyone to talk to about what was really on my mind. I buried myself in church. So for me, these were good coping mechanisms, so to speak. My church at Mount Zion Baptist Church, where I grew up, it was the joy of my life. It was my grandmother's church. My family went there. My father grew up there. So yeah, I had many positive coping mechanisms. I had a wonderful friend group who also went to church with me and went to school with me. My grandparents were very hands-on with us as children. My maternal and paternal grandparents were very hands-on, and I just really appreciated that. So they were a part of my experience in the midst of whatever chaos I may have been experiencing at home. So because I had no control over the unpleasant things that may have transpired in my house, I didn't have a lot for me. I needed to control my environment at all times. Noise levels, smell, personal space and proximity, like what was in the house, as well as the type of people and company that was allowed into my space. Of course, I did not have a perfect childhood. A lot of things were out of my control for many years, and this is the case for many children as we are under the tutelage of our parents. I lived with anxiety as a child. Early on, I was a nail biter. I can remember at age 4 biting my nails, and I just never really knew how to process my emotions constructively. That is something that I was never taught. I'm not sure if my parents even had the skills to teach me that, if they had it within themselves. So I found coping mechanisms like withdrawing and being an introvert at school and in social groups. I started writing in journals and writing poetry in late middle school to early high school. That helped me get a lot out of my mind and off of my chest. I buried myself in church as well, which was the absolute joy of my life. And so I really did have a lot of positive coping mechanisms. I had a wonderful friend group. Their parents were extremely supportive. And we also went to church together. My grandparents were very hands-on. My maternal grandmother, whom we spent a lot of time with in the early part of my adolescence, and then my paternal grandparents, whom we lived with for a time, and who were also very hands-on with us while I was growing up. However, because I had no control over the unpleasant things that may have transpired in my home, and because we didn't have a lot in regards to finances and resources, our living space was often small. I went to extremes and when I say extreme, into the area of trying to control myself, because that's all I could control. I could not dictate the decisions that my parents made. I could not dictate that I had to share my space with 3 other siblings and family members, or the company that my parents kept, or the cousins that I had to spend time with. So I really went hard in trying to control my little bit of space. So, for example, when I got a new pair of shoes, and maybe this will be the only new pair of shoes that I'll have for a while, I went above and beyond to keep them clean. Got that toothbrush, and I'm bleaching shoestrings, and I'm just making sure that my shoes are absolutely perfect. I kept my room extremely neat when I was in middle school, and I decorated that space with the few items that I had. I remember this doll that my father had gotten me one Christmas. There was also this jewelry box that had a ballerina inside of it, and of course you could wind it up. When you open it, it would sing, and I had a few pieces of jewelry in there. That was like my pride and joy. I also remember at that time I had a little porcelain clown doll, and like they were twins. It was a boy and a girl. One was pink, one was blue, and they had like a glass face. And I just adored those things, and they sat right on top of my dresser, and as well as probably some other stuffed animals. And I cannot forget the CD player that I listened to all the time. On Sundays, I listened to The Quiet Storm on the radio, and during the week, I remember blasting my Rough Rider CD just on replay. Any little thing I had, I just really held on to it because I didn't have much. So this was my attempt to control what I did have. Okay, so I pressed my clothes. I was tucked and creased. Everything was extra because it was so small. So fast forwarding to adulthood, because I did have 3 siblings, there were always dishes in the house, or there were toys and things, laundry that needed to be done, socks that needed mating, or the walls were dirty, and we would have chores on weekends, or washing. It was my turn to do dishes on Sunday, except I wanted to go watch the TV show on the one TV we had in the living room in the early 90s. I just made sure my environment was perfect, or as perfect as I could get it as an adult. I needed tranquility to maintain my stability. And this is where I was by the time I graduated college, and round about 22, 23 when I transitioned into my first real adult living space after undergrad. I had a career now, so I bought furniture and quality wood. You could describe my house as a minimalist, and that's mostly because I didn't have a lot of money to invest a lot, and I was in transition, so I knew it was a temporary space, but I did invest in the bedroom set and the furniture and the dinette table that I had. I had nice linens for the bed and the bathroom. I didn't spare expenses on that. and the colors were muted and natural. Nothing was loud or busy the way that I grew up. I didn't want knitted throws. I didn't want a lot of patterns and colors. I needed everything soft all the time. And that's just where I was. In my third adult apartment overseas, I got more adventurous with the colors. So now I'm going to get into how this living space is reflecting a new personality. This was my journey abroad. I was open to colors and new things. Each room was a whole vibe. I painted the bottom half of the living room wall purple. You know, it was an accent wall, but it was a beautiful bright purple. I had white furniture. At one point I had a red couch, and then I went with a darker color. My bedroom was in brown hues, tan, light colors, and wood. And then the guest bedroom, which ended up being my closet, was in a navy and a lime green. I really loved that space back there. And of course, natural woods, and the curtains were navy blue in there. The curtains in my bedroom were brown, and I didn't have curtains in the living room. And in the two bedrooms, I had floor to ceiling windows. They were 12 feet high, and they spread across the entire wall. So I had all this beautiful natural lighting, and I absolutely adored it. I would sit in the living room and have breakfast at my pub table that was by the window, that I can look out and see the U.S. Embassy across the street. I could see the palm trees and the water out across a couple of really major roads. In my bedroom, I had a brown sitting chair, a high back chair that I just loved. And I had a balcony. Now, I didn't go out on the balcony because unfortunately it was always sandy out there, and it was usually hot where I lived. So the weather was not agreeable to always be outside. But nonetheless, that option was available to me in my bedroom. I used to love sitting in there, getting dressed in the chair, and just the vibe of the brown hues in there were quite inviting. I did not have a TV in there. I only had a TV in the living room. And in my back bedroom, or the guest room / closet, there was a futon. Totally enjoyed the artwork in there. I found matching artwork and quotes, and it was just a whole groove, and I was really into the space. My dishes, I had all kinds of oriental things. Like I said, I had the city views with the floor-to-ceiling windows. I lived in the Middle East, so it was always sunny, and it was always dusty with sand everywhere. The beach was 7 minutes down the road, any given direction, because I lived on the island. My space was a new type of serene between this time of 2011 to 2016. And I was going through a transformation as a young adult in my mid-20s during this time. It was just a complete happiness and a freedom I had never felt before. And my living space was reflecting this freedom that I had. I still was very much trying to control. Everything had to be perfect. And there's nothing wrong with that on the constructive side of having a neat space, an organized space, or just something that you're happy with. On the downside, if I still haven't dealt with my trauma or my obsession with controlling, there lies the issue. Okay? But nonetheless, at this time, I was open-minded. My heart was open to love and exploration of self. I was traveling the world. I was open, and so my home was open. I hosted parties. I had friends over. I kept throws on the couch if people wanted to take a nap or wrap up and be comfortable. I kept fine chocolates next to the large table books on my coffee table. And just reminiscing about it puts my heart at such ease. I can just go there and just feel so comfortable. And I repeated that same feeling in my current home. My space, my abode is so important. My living room in particular is warm and inviting. It's wrapped in natural hues, butcher block wood furniture, popping wall textures, plants, gemstones, and there is so much love there. I can just come home and take refuge. I can create there and laugh. I can study. I can host friends. And I am just truly at peace when I'm there in my living room. And I think everyone should experience this connection in the place that they live. And it doesn't have to always be tranquil. That's my thing. It can be a turn-up spot, your home gym or office. Essentially, it just needs to be the best version of you where you can connect with that space. Again, it needs to be the best version of you that space brings out. So I highly recommend a spot with natural elements to connect you to what we are all created from and constantly entangled with. However, the game room, the cigar lounge or poker room, office or gym may not incite natural elements all the time. But however, I would urge you to figure out ways to make this happen, because there are all types of cool grounding elements that you can find. There's copper, stones like obsidian and bowls or decorative trays are very cool, very masculine. You can pop a plant just about anywhere, and there are so many styles of plants that you can use. There are ones that purify the air and give off oxygen. Those are really, really great. There's natural furniture. You can do stone countertops in your dens and your bars. Just any kind of decor items, even something as small as a coaster. Like I have wooden coasters around the house. You want something in there to help clear the air, to synthesize and filter the energy. So this is why I'm urging the natural elements. It's not to turn you into a hippie, but it is for a grounding aspect, if you get what I'm saying. The most important factor in all of this is always going to be you and how you engage in your space. You need to be able to come to a constructive living area, okay? So whether you're resting, whether you're creating, building, whether it's caring and loving in this particular area, you have to be invested and active in it. Nobody wants to come to a place that they don't really want to be in. That is the worst feeling ever. That creates anxiety and anger and resentment. We have to understand that home is where the heart is. And that is to say that your home is a reflection of your heart, your internal ongoings, your mind space. Just think right now, what does your home speak about your personality? Does it speak calm or does it speak chaotic? Does it speak neat or disorganized, cheerful, dreary, flowing and open or cluttered, simple, chic, distressed, lively? What does your home say about your personality? What does it say about your internal mindset, your heart? These are some things for you to think about and reflect on. My name is Charlie, and thank you for joining my chat room today. Go forth and be well. Peace.